This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Good evening, good evening. It is Going Off Grid, episode 12. I am one of your co-hosts here, Sheep Bender, along with Crypto Queen. Took a week off. I'll get more into that later. But first, let me get some disclaimer out the way. This is not financial advice. You can lose all your money investing. This is also not for educational or entertainment purposes. I nor anyone that is speaking is a financial, political, legal, medical, betting, or any type of expert advisor. These are our thoughts and opinions on different topics only. This is being recorded for future rebroadcasts and clips on other platforms. Thank you. Hopefully we can get Queen in the building tonight. Queen, can you hear me? Uh-oh, connected. Queen, are you there? Maybe? Is that you still requesting?
Yeah,
Did
can
I
you hear
approve
me?
your request? I can hear you now.
Okay, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I hope my Wi-Fi holds out. I'm on the phone from work. Hey, Barkoshi, welcome.
Thank you, Arkoshi, and welcome. Yes. So, last week, like I was just saying here before the disclaimer, we were offline there for a little bit. I'm just not going to lie about it, y'all. I had I had an episode. If there was a meltdown crash out or a crash out meltdown, that was me 2 weeks ago, and I just want to thank Queen for you know kind of quasi without her knowledge becoming my therapist, and we kind of worked our way through it, and I'm still going through things, but we're here today, and that's always a good start. First off, happy Mother's Day. It's always Mother's Day, but Mother's Day was actually technically yesterday. Fun fact: the lady that started Mother's Day actually fought after she got it to be a holiday against this commercialization and profiting off of it. She just wanted it just to really just be a celebration about Mother's Day. So salute to you, Queen, and all the other mothers out there, and everybody that helps raise these kids, and hopefully, they grow up and continue on that great tradition. So salute to y'all. Got a lot of people, family, friends, and everybody. Birthdays, graduations this month. So before I forget, just salute to all the upcoming graduates. And if you got a birthday, this month, whether you're I believe was a Taurus or a Gemini, just happy birthday. Happy birthday to you year round. But this is kind of my time of year. But so doubly shout out to everybody around this time of year. Queen, you got any shout outs you want to give?
Hey, actually, Bender, I was just trying to find the lads chat to pop this in the chat, and I can't find it. So, if you guys have access to that chat, just put it in there if you don't mind. And any other chats you're part of that you think might want to join the space, please retweet the space if you don't mind. Let's get some more folks in here. And just shout out to everybody that shows up every week.
Yeah, thank you. I tell you what, Queen, I am going to. I don't know if you're in a position here, but while you got connection, are you in a place where you can go into your trench lessons?
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of short one tonight, but a good one. And I'm ready if you guys can hear me.
I can hear you. Go ahead. We'll get you while we got reception. I'm letting the good times roll today.
Okay, awesome. What better day for it? The drama continues on crypto Twitter. Seems like even we're in a bull market these days, which is, I don't know if we are or not, but maybe we're heading that way. You still find some things to beef about. So it's been pretty entertaining on the timeline, I'm sure for you guys as well. But this lesson, this is number 12. It's about toxicity in Web3. What we talked about was that just how a toxic culture can tank a crypto or NFT project's adoption. But sometimes it's necessary. So I'll go into that in a little bit. But it can push away new users, devs, and investors. It just looks messy on the timeline, especially for big companies or projects looking at what you guys are talking about to see if they want to invest. They might take a look and say, no thanks, that's just too much drama for me. But this is some reasons why and just kind of how to fix it. But negativity and gatekeeping scare off new users. It creates inclusive onboarding and supportive, or to fight that, create inclusive onboarding and supportive communities. Hostile teams repel devs. I don't know a lot of devs want to jump into a snake pit of people, community members fighting over stuff. They probably go where greener pastures are. Um, but so yeah, so transparent communication and collaboration can attract talent. If you guys are looking for a dev, try to keep it clean on the timeline if possible. And then infighting and drama kills trust. It just kind of makes you question everything when you see one person that you trust fighting another person that you trust. It's like who to believe, where does the truth lie, and sometimes it's just in the middle. But implement strong governance and conflict resolution. Squash those fights down quickly if you can, so they don't get out of hand, and especially so they don't bring personal into it. I think that's where it really goes sour is when you are no longer fighting about the issues, you're fighting each other and whatever that you've done to hurt the other person personally. Consistent town halls, let the community air grievances and propose solutions, fostering unity. I think that's one thing we don't have enough of this space is actual community spaces and consistent ones where we can all come together and ask those questions. And sometimes it's just the unknown that's causing more drama than everything. If you address the situation, head on, sometimes you can, get ahead of those bigger issues that come up. And then we talked about this a second ago, but toxicity not only deters the devs, but they deter partners. So projects um, that are looking at you to maybe um, partner up or grow your project, or maybe not going to be so interested. So project professionalism and shared values for strong attract those folks in with a positive community atmosphere. And then just to tie it up, lead with empathy, align incentives, and reward positivity for faster adoption. And Bender, we can talk about some more specific examples if you guys want to delve into it. If not, the trench lesson for this week.
Wow. So you, I don't know where this church lesson came from because I've been offline. So I've seen some interesting things last week that was kind of eye opening. First off, let me say this, y'all. Uh, yeah. So there's freedom of speech, absolutely, and long live the republic when it comes to freedom of speech. There's also freedom of consequence of what you say out there too as well. So also be mindful of that with everything too. And I don't know if y'all heard me a couple of weeks ago, but I was saying, certain accounts have, I've seen them, show things that are questionable because, liability and what is it called? Defamation, that's a real thing, and you can end up in some legal situations that your mouth got you into. To take a case like Alex Jones, for example, you might say things that, have consequences and, can have you in legal binds for that kind of thing there too. But this really took me back as you were speaking here, Queen, to kind of yesteryear. And I think anybody that's been in the sheep community for more than a few years now I don't know if I have to revisit all that, but there's been some conflicts and some things that brought about confusion. And me personally, I was I invited the drama. Don't let me lie, but we also we were kind of in the heart of the middle of that, and we gave the average person in the community a moment to kind of step up and voice their opinions, and it was exactly along the lines of what you were saying, Queen. Just a lot of confusion, who to turn to, who to trust now, sides were chosen. Me personally, I was um, just in awe and confused and just, I was just like, man, like this is just so unprofessional on either side of everything in regards to that. And you do still see that, and it's happened in every community. I'm not pointing at sheep by any means, but yeah, this one's a little bit closer to my heart than others, and one I paid a little bit more attention to than others. So I can speak on it because, like, again, we did a space literally that week when all hell broke loose, and yeah, the community came out for about 3 hours and really had some strong opinions on everything. So I do believe there's a decorum, ultimately, um, that people can behind the scenes have disagreements. However, um, you know, professionalism above and beyond else, for your overall long term vision, and if you aren't aligned publicly in that aspect, maybe and you can't really speak or see what's in people's hearts, until that heat really hits the frying pan, I guess you could say. But it really kind of goes back to exposing also people's true character. When it's a fight or flight situation, and you see people kind of do stuff like that. So yeah, I really believe this is one that hopefully, if you are out there as a hopeful dev or an aspiring dev that wants to start a project, that these lessons in the trenches that you've seen, are ones that you and your team can learn upon and communicate, and hopefully don't just let things fester and boil over, where it becomes like, a public thing where your community ultimately suffers and your project suffers. Because, I no, I am going to say it. I just really don't think Steve has been the same since. And I'm not saying it's not um, recoverable or anything like that, but the vibe just hasn't been the same since. Yeah, I'm just not going to lie. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I think it's so many times too we let our bag bias keep us quiet from things that we really should be saying. And I think if you'll like scroll back, these were written last year, some in the beginning of the year before all the most recent drama happened. So it is a little ironic to be talking about this toxicity as a lesson, but um, yeah, I think it's like a just a evolution of discovering a project is not what you thought it was, and how these questions, come to the forefront and then get expressed because there's really no other way to get the answers that you're looking for. So sometimes you think the worst, sometimes don't your trust starts fading, and it's just, I think, important to have some outlet that you can go to and get answers, or just to have someone listen to your concerns and say, yes, I understand. I'll pass this on. We'll get answers. Even if you don't have the answers, that open communication does so much to help, with just people feeling that the project is transparent and not feeling like the project's hiding something. And yes, so there for a long time there, months, my timeline was extremely toxic. And, there were times that I'm sure I added to the toxicity in the name of, airing out the truth, basically. Friends over it. And it's unfortunate. And I'm sure you lost friends over it as well, as people started taking sides. And, that's never good for a community. But also, I just feel like we have a responsibility to our communities, especially those that follow us. When we see something wrong, otherwise you're just leading them down a path to get destroyed, and that's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for you and your reputation in the long run. People have to be able to trust you to continue to be in your community or continue to follow you, and if they see you hiding things that are out there in the open, but because you have this bag bias and you don't want your bags to be hurt, you're not saying anything or you're not calling attention to those issues. And in the end, nobody wins in that situation because the truth is going to come out no matter what. And then you're just going to look like a fool for not having, um, you know, steered your community in the right direction. So just a couple words about that. And back to you, Bender.
Okay, Helene, I'm gonna take the bait tonight. What's the latest drama? I have no clue.
Oh, the latest drama was, well, I got blocked this morning by somebody who was, I guess a longtime friend, I guess you could say, because of drama about, shilling leash and continuing to shill Shabarium, etc. And I just said that's to know that there are these many problems with the projects involved. That there are active hacks that haven't been addressed through postmortems. We don't have any communication from the devs in months to continue to shield these projects. It's just not ethical, and it's basically just shilling your own bags, and that's just not right. So anyway, I always try in these situations not to take it personal, but I guess I guess I crossed the line somewhere. But yeah, I think a lot of us have had some recent blocks over these continued situations.
Oh wow. And I appreciate you even sharing that. Here's what I'll say because I don't know anything about anything, so I'll just keep it brief here on this one, and we'll move on to another topic. Shabam, if it's recovering, whatever, I doubt it. I don't know. The last time I looked at the TVL, it was like 26 grand. I ain't paying attention to it. If it bounces back, great. Hopefully they shored up whatever vulnerabilities that got it hacked in the first place. Leash, however, on the other hand, I believe the last time I checked it, it was in the trillions. Don't know why you would be showing that because at 107,000 when it started off. I don't know, whatever y'all want to call it, rebase, rebrand, whatever it's called. Somebody done pumped up. Somebody been making money off of that. Somehow they've been selling. I don't know, but yeah, that I don't know why anybody's buying that right now. But yeah, so do your own research. What's that?
It's in the quadrillions now, so you're just a little bit behind.
Oh my god! How you go from 107,000 to quadrillions? Yeah, I'm. So yeah, and I don't believe me if you're a leaseholder because I distinctly remember I was brand new to Sheep Army. I came in literally a month before Shiba Swap. I think I came in the same. I think Shiba Swap dropped the same month Bone did. I don't know where Leash was, but the first time I had heard about Leash, it was at like 4,700, and I was just like, whoa. And I remember it was dropping then. So I know there's somebody out there with some $4,700 lease still owning it somewhere, and that kind of stuff. Believe me,
I had plenty of it at one point in time. I thought it was going to be my retirement plan. I mean, 107,000 tokens. Imagine the supply shock when people start really buying. And yeah, needless to say, I did sell when the rebase happened because I no longer trusted the project. Even if they had a V2, I didn't trust because they didn't tell us the truth from the beginning.
Queen, I remember being on the sheet recap and saying 107,000 tokens is a utility by itself. And I've never owned any leash, but I was just like, not financial advice, but if you ever get leash, like at the right price, I don't know how you can go wrong. It's like 107,000 supply, like, like a decent pump and it pumps up. But yeah, so I don't take what I say lightly here, but I don't know. At some point, you gotta take responsibility for your own investing. I guess you could say, like, I don't know who could talk you into leash at this point, but God bless them if they are, and if you believe in that, I don't know what to say to you at this point. Like, I don't know. I'm not again, I don't take it lightly, but it's like, like you should do yourself and whoever was showing that and block them because they're not in anybody's best interest at this point. Like you just got to keep it 100. And if somebody out there knows something I don't, feel free to come up and talk about it. But that's just my personal opinion with everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't want to turn this into.
Sorry, Vendor. I was just gonna say not to make it all about SHIB. I know we don't want to do that, but I
Right.
mean, just consider the fact that we haven't heard from the devs in I don't know 4 months. We'll say 4 months. Not a word, not about the elections, not about V2, not about the hack. We haven't had a post mortem. We have a wallet with all the bones from the validators sitting in it that hasn't moved in 66 days. Not a single bone in 66 days. So if you want to get a big supply of bone off the chain, you can't because the wallet is all sitting in. I mean, the bone is all sitting in someone's wallet, which we presume is this multi-sig owned by Cal. But I haven't seen any sign of life, and I'll be the first to say, like, admit I was wrong if they pop up with a huge plan, but I just don't see any sign of that happening.
Yeah, I think I went into this a little bit the week when we were talking about the new website. Was it ShibaToken.com versus Sheep.io. And I'll just say it again. Like I'm a sheep holder. We're the biggest nomad project in crypto right now. We're a top 30 nomad, no dev, no nothing. Like we're just all decentralized community. And again, if you're a whole Shibarium ecosystem, I get it. Believe me, I read the original Wolf paper. I bought in. It all made sense. She was, the original, utility of memes, with the L2, the swap, we and again at the time, these things were hot. The metaverse was hot, the games were hot. Might have got sidetracked, but they were hot at the time, and people demanded them and that kind of thing. Like I did I go out and create one myself? No, I'm not. Like it is what it is. But and we can get a debate whether what those reasons are and what have you not. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I just at this point, it's just like you just can't deny what's in front of your eyes. So I just took it back to the essence myself personally. I'm sheep holder. I'm good. Everybody else, you do what's good for you. If that's, I've heard people get on spaces and be like, "Hey, man, I'm making money doing this way. I'm like, wow, you're making money doing that still? Okay, do you? I hope it works out for you. I'm not. If bone, skyrockets from 5 cents to $1, I'm not mad at it. Like I'm rooting for you. But me personally, I wouldn't touch lease with a 20-foot pole. I mean, just my personal opinion. I'm not taking anybody's financial advice, but if you're buying it in the quadrillions, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Like that's on you.
I know. I tell myself every day, just keep scrolling, don't stop. Because I feel like I've gone out of my way to warn investors, and partially out of guilt because I'm sure I led a bunch of people to the SHIB ecosystem because I believed in it fully. But when I didn't believe in it anymore, that's when I said, okay, I'm going to try to protect others from getting hurt the way I got hurt, and you got hurt, and everybody in here probably. But sometimes you just gotta save your peace and just keep freaking scrolling. But yeah, every now and then I fall off the wagon and find something that I just cannot, keep scrolling past, which was the prediction of $10 leash today. And I'm like, this is never gonna happen. Like, please stop telling people that this is gonna happen. And then it just kind of goes off the rails.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Great lessons for the trenches today. But the bottom line is, if you are a leader of communities, try to keep that in house. Try not to let everybody's gonna have disagreements, beef, issues, that kind of thing behind the scenes. You got millions and billions on the line. There's always going to be a problem with the money. I can just tell you all that from sales. It's always going to be a problem with the money. Um, and just whoever's feeling slight is going to have some type of way about them. But the main thing you got to do is hang in there.
Let me ask you this question. This is one thing I've been thinking a lot about lately. Like, at what point do your shills turn um, into baggage potentially if a lawsuit were to happen, if a criminal activity were to be found out? Like, what culpability do you have in that? And that's something that we all have to think about when we're doing paid promotions or we're just doing shills. When you um, have overwhelming evidence that something is not as it seems, and you continue to shill that for out of bag bias, like, what responsibility do you have legally, ethically, etc.? Have you thought about that?
Not only have I thought about that, I've been about it. I've been in situations like that. I thought a project was really good. I've been like, yeah, on the timeline, like, let's go. I'm in. And I wasn't paid or anything like that. I did have a bag though. Yeah, I'm not going to lie there. And once everything kind of came to light and everything like that, I was just like, well, I was wrong. I might have taken an L. I got some DMs about it, and I would just be straight up. Like, hey, like, I got rugged too. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. We should have done our research a little bit more. But if you continue doing all that and you're doing it, the kind of dump on others. I mean, first off, you got to look in the mirror, and you got to be able to live with that person, and if you can do that, then that's a whole nother discussion, in life that you need to have with yourself. But second, the main thing is that yeah, you if you genuinely don't know what's going on, and I don't care what anybody says. You can look at every thing out there imaginable, and if a dev's going to pull something shady, so dev's going to pull something shady. I've seen it all happen, and I've been in a lot of it on Shibarium. I'm just not going to lie. But I just took my L's and sold what I did at whatever I had and just went on. Like, I've got some entities that just were part of rap projects. It is what it is. But yeah, the main thing is you should really look out for that. But if you, I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest. I mean, if you're blatantly doing it, you don't obviously care about the legal consequences. But morally, are you okay with living with that? If you are, then that's good. But if you're not, then do the right thing. You might not have to get out there and put out an apology letter that puts you in the crosshairs of a lawsuit, but it would probably be in your best interest to just stop, like, and not keep getting unsuspecting people that may trust you or believe in you or watching your timeline, get them involved in what you're doing, like, just some things I've, once I kind of find out, like, oh yeah, Ape 10, oh man, that sucked. Let's watch the charts just dropped 90%. I just quietly just let it die somewhere, and to the abyss. And, I moved on just like everybody else did. But, it wasn't anything, that but I would never take a payment knowing that something was going to rug either. So I mean, that's where yeah, again, you gotta be able to. There's some things you got to be able to live with. Mistakes are one thing. Intentional is a whole nother conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have seen some KOLs here recently put out apology letters when a project that, just immediately rugs that they shilled hard or were paid for it, like with the space token I saw. At least one KOL get on there and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know, that this was going to happen. And, I'll be more careful in what I promote in the future. And yeah, like you said, it's like we don't. any of us get into these projects thinking that they're going to rug or any potential, and that they're not going to be the greatest project that ever was, or we wouldn't stand behind them. But then, one by one, you see them fail, and you're like, dang, I don't really want to be associated with any project in the future. I think that's where I'm at. Is I'm going to be so very careful about what I associate with it. It's probably not going to happen. I'm probably not going to, associate with any of them. But yeah, I think there's, if nothing else, if no legal consequences come to you, because I mean, even the Saitama KOLs that all partied together in Vegas that night, you know who they are. We all do. I don't think they suffered any legal ramifications, but that doesn't mean they didn't have to testify in the court drama with Saitama or with Safe Moon or any of the projects that we've seen fail. But there is a list of KOLs on X that anytime someone sees a project being promoted, you can pretty much assume they're going to be in it. If it's going to be a project that's just a money grab, and you get a bad reputation online, at least on X, for being someone that's not trustworthy as far as what you're shilling, and that's something that'll follow you. Crypto Twitter is so small, and you don't want that reputation. So just be careful out there. I think we've all learned the valuable hard lessons, and we'll all do better in the future. We'll do our own research a little bit better.
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. And yeah, great discussion, Queen. I think again, you just at the end of the day, you got to do your research. Every trade's not going to go your way. Even it doesn't even matter. It could be just non-ruggable tokens. People are taking losses on Bitcoin. It's just going to happen. But at the end of the day, just try to stay true to that one person that you always got to be true to in character, which is you. If you do that, I think I think that's where it starts, and then everything else you can kind of build on. You're going to make mistakes, everything like that. Own up to that person in the mirror, own up to that public persona, and just move forward. But yeah, if it becomes a pattern, then it's now on me whether or not I continue to keep and engaging in what you're doing. In regards to that, like nobody's going to be perfect, but if it's 5 times in a row, like yeah, I'm probably at just the point I'm just not going to listen to you. There's a lot of people I follow I don't listen to. There's a lot of people I've seen show questionable stuff. There's a lot of people still out there rooting things. It's cool. I'll scroll by. For 99.9% of it, in regards to, I follow 12,000 plus people, y'all. Don't let me lie. I see a lot of crazy stuff online. It's gotten to a point like, how much of my precious energy and time do I need for this? And a lot of it's like, nope, just scroll on, That's why I kind of just keep my timeline light, stop and get a refresher. I'll retweet some of the serious stuff, but usually I'm pretty lighthearted. Go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you come from a place of experience, and most of us here do. And we can just roll our eyes and say, okay, that's so and so shilling something that's about to rug, and it's almost funny at this point because you can just predict it, and you just wait for that red candle going down. But a lot of the new people, that's what I worry about, the new ones that don't have that experience, and they don't know who's who, and they just dive into everything that somebody says, and I just worry that they're going to get hurt, and I hate to see that because we've been hurt and we know how it feels, and I just feel like if I could protect somebody, then that's what I should do. That's the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, you can't save everybody. And that's, another lesson I've learned. You can talk to your blue in the face, but some people are just not ready to hear it. And so you might as well just save your voice on those.
Yeah, I get it. I think I said this in another space. Like you're not gonna be able to save everybody. Like some people are just gonna dive in. I'll put it this way: way off track here. I follow a lot of like Pump Fun, Soul, like major KOLs, like, you know, 30, 50, 100,000 views, you know, several retweets, whatever's hot on Pump Fun this week, they're dropping that kind of thing. And I mean, some of the stuff does go parabolic, but you know, a lot of it's going to hit about a 500K market cap and dies from there. You know, I can just look at the chart, like, yeah, that one. I can look at the narrative and be like, yeah, that one. If it hits 250K, it'll be lucky. You know, and sometimes I'm wrong, and some of them will go to a couple million. But yeah, we're not talking, you know, peanut or Fartcoin, you know, type tokens here. We're talking, you know, clearly, you know, it's tracked. And you know, and people just they're all in it every time. You know, I'm watching, you know, a lot of people, you know, retweet. I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments, and you know, it just is what it is. You know, and you know, sometimes I scroll by, you know, and the ones that are obvious are just really obvious. So, you know, and it's either direction too, whether they're parabolic or whether they're going to, you know, flame out. You know, and you just, you know, again, it's not, you know, I can't get in every comment and be like, oh yeah, this one, you know, look at that, you know, I'm looking at bubble maps, you know, it's got 40%, you know, held by the dead, like, you know, like, yeah, I can't, like, eventually, like, we all got Axiom Pro, we're all seeing the same things, you know, on the charts, you know, like, if you're still aping in, like, I don't, you know, I don't know what to tell you, you know, like, it's got to be, you know, like, this is a very, like, and Queen, you're one of the smartest people I know. You taught me so much about security. You taught me so much about, you know, all the little things to look out for. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be sitting here at this computer by myself. I'm gonna be pushing them buttons. I'm buying or selling, you know, and it's really on me, you know, and I've had to look in the mirror and say, you know what, that one's a loss, you know, and I've had to look in the mirror and say, okay, you know, I got out, I escaped. I escaped with, you know, some profit, you know, and I'm gonna take that win today. So yeah, but yeah, you just gotta do your research and go from there.
Hey, just a funny little spin on this, but it's been all over my timeline lately. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So the Bored Ape drama that's going on. There's like a well-known scammer who was part of a couple tokens back a couple years ago that's come back into the space, and he's gifting everybody Bored Apes, but he's, you know, having them sign a contract. These are like popular KOLs that host a lot of spaces. They have to sign this contract saying that they'll work for him, that those spaces for him. You know, that I guess the fine print is that they'll help him shield these tokens. That's not publicized, but basically that's what's happening. And you know, he's gifting people these apes, and you know, I'm kind of looking at him like some of these people I would never have thought would have taken an ape from this guy or even been associated with this person at all, much less take a $20,000 PFP for him in exchange for, you know, helping them push whatever their narrative they're pushing. But would you take an ape if someone gave it to you that you know is you know, has some bad motives potentially? Would you take it? It's $20,000. You could sell it right now and flip it.
You're saying like there's a contract where I've also got to shield tokens and stuff on top of that?
Well, that's not said. That's not in the contract, but it's host spaces for this person. But you know, in the spaces, he's going to be shilling the next token that he's launching. Whether it's a good token or not good token, who knows? But with the history, it's just a little. I'd be skeptical of it.
Yeah, I am. I'm in sales, yo. Let me just say, I am the poster child for strings attached. Like, I work for organizations with strings attached every day, you know, like, and part of the reason why I don't put like Facebook, I don't have my real name, I don't have a LinkedIn, I don't have anything, because if I say something like how I tweet and how I come across here, like my any tie that gets back to my employer could do some very public harm. And I have some very public facing positions usually in very multi-million billion dollar operations on a daily basis. Like people can usually like point me out and be like, yeah, that guy, he's right there on the web page. Like, you know how they do like the libs of TikTok, like just find people and hunt them down. It's like, yeah, that guy, get him fired. Like that's the kind of stuff. Like they'll be at my employer, like this guy works for you, saying this kind of stuff. Yes, so yeah, that I am very careful of, and I don't associate my social media. Like I even have my number and stuff blocked. Like my employer can't even find me on social media. I don't use the same emails or anything. But so you've got to be extremely mindful of that with strings attached, and the number one thing is again, nobody's giving you anything for free. There's always going to be, and especially always think too, what anybody thinks they're giving you or what anybody thinks your company is worth, times it by 3 to 5. So that's what you owe back. You know what I mean? Like you're giving me a 20 grand 8. Okay, I'm owing you at least $100,000-$200,000 in services back. So what am I really worth at that point? What is the real motive? And we need to have a real conversation about where that is. So like me personally, I would probably uncover all that and then make a decision. And there's been times I've been offered, not anything like 20 grand, but there's been times I've been offered to do things, and I'm just like immediately like red flag, like no, like you're whatever you're offering me 1,000, like no, I'm not doing 10 grand of that kind of work. Like I already know where that's leading. Like like it's not worth 10 grand of my 10 grand is not worth my reputation. Like like
Yeah,
it is.
just about to say that
People
same
have a
thing.
number probably, but it's not like you got to
Yeah,
know
that's what I was
where
gonna
you got.
say.
Yeah,
What's your
but
reputation
again,
really worth?
Queen, I'm not. I am a person that can be okay with not having the money I need and still turning down that kind of offer. Because if there is a number, then the number can go low. You know what I mean? Like that. There's a point where you've got to just say, all right, I'm going to do it the right way for the long term, or I'm gonna take this quick money now. And yeah, it can be tempting, but you've got to do what's right for you, and you got to be able to. I can't say it enough. You got to be able to look in the mirror and face that person. If you cannot, if there's any kind of tinge, if there's any kind of squeamish, if that feeling tells you, you gotta hone in on that and just really back up and say, let me, you know, um, let me take a look at things, and kind of zoom out. But a lot of these people don't have any morals either. And they've been doing it for years and they don't really care. And I hate to say it, I think sometimes, I do think there is a thing called karma, but I think sometimes like your mind state can help you bypass the karma, and it just gotta just keep going through life and getting away with stuff. And there's just people out there that do that. There's we're just watching real life examples of just people just getting away with stuff over and over again, and that kind of thing there too. But it's just please just try your hardest to definitely please just don't do that to yourself. There's got to be something for the long term that you need to be able to hold on to. Go ahead, Clint. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're right. I mean, don't sell your soul out here for $20,000. It's just craziness. And I think
Right.
another whole level of complexity comes with it with being doxxed because, people can find you. They can, I kind of regret the day I decided to be doxxed because, I've had death threats. Someone could show up at my house at any moment if they wanted to. I mean, I don't
Oh, Queen, I think we're losing you. Queen, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. Throw up an emoji if y'all can't hear Queen either. Okay,
No, I would not
I'm not tripping.
say no matter what.
Okay,
I
there
would
we
in
go.
person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, somebody's giving you 20 grand for a board ape. I don't even know what the floor on them or anything like that is right now, but yeah, there's definitely strings attached. So yeah, don't do that to yourself, y'all. Good topic here, Queen. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I just want to invite anybody who wants to weigh in on the conversations we're having. Please come up and talk to us. We'd love to have you among friends about what's going on in the space and in the world. So come up and join us, guys.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna totally pivot here. I got something on my mind. Queen, I hope you're ready. So I took a deep dive the other day, y'all, because I've been really kind of perplexed with AI data centers, and I don't even know why. It kind of started down a rabbit hole of Coinbase, and we've seen a lot of these cuts here recently, from Block to 4,000, and AI job cuts to, it just goes on and on and on. I'm not even going to recap all those, but the latest one was Coinbase, boldly announcing, they were just going to go ahead and slice 14,000 or 14% of their workforce for AI. And, their AI agents and their managers are all going to get stronger and leaner and that kind of thing. And then, literally 2 days later, unrelated, of course, their systems go down for about 5+ hours. And I can't say that's actually probably unrelated, because their systems have actually gone down this year when they did have their full workforce. So, it's, these are the same people that want to trade your stocks. But anyway, so that kind of got me going on the rabbit hole. And then, for some reason, the algo just feeds me this stuff constantly. The latest one I just saw today. There's a county in Georgia. They're doing eminent domain. If you don't know what eminent domain is, it's just where the state can just take your land, sell it to you at whatever value they assess as a fair price, versus, your open market, and that kind of thing there too as well. And, you're just forced out of your land and move. And that kind of thing. So I've been a part of this. I actually, in my area, they wanted to run a highway through a older established neighborhood, and we got it all to a ballot. And I believe me, because I live by the neighborhood, and it would be so much more convenient for me to have this highway have gone through this neighborhood to get to this other part of the area that I want to get to. Instead, I drive 5 miles out of my way around it. But every time I think about this little old lady that was on TV talking about her house wanting to be saved. So believe me, I'm pretty familiar with this eminent domain thing. But anyway, in Georgia, this data center is going up. They've decided to eminent domain for the electric power company there. And I believe it's 70+ acres in regards to that. So that was just today. So I had actually looked into this a couple of days ago, because I was thinking, man, there's not I only hear of maybe 5 of these AI companies. And then I started hearing about there's thousands of these data centers. And I was thinking well, why does 5 companies need thousands of data centers, all strategically placed around all these freshwater facilities? And then I started, and I am that guy. Yes, y'all. This will be ironic, I guess you could say. But I asked Grok. I was like, Grok, how many data centers are out there? And Grok was like, there's roughly 3,500 to 5,000 data centers in the U.S. And I'm like, wow, that's really freaking amazing. 3,500 to 5,000 data centers in the U.S. Grok's like, yeah. So I was like, Grok, how many actual companies are there out there? And Grok was like, well, there's about 5 to 10 major ones. He named off, the usual suspects: XAI, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, The likes of that. I'll pull this up here. I got it pinned up here too, y'all, where I was actually questioning this for Grok. He's got a little bit longer ones, but I kept making him condense stuff I could put in the tweets. But and then that one, and then there's another expected 1,500 that they're trying to build. So this is roughly 7,000 data centers. And at the most, to make a real long story short, there's about 33 prominent ones worldwide in terms of AI companies. There's about 100 total that are even on the map, but about 33 prominent ones that are based here in the U.S. and about 5 to 10 actual real major players. So I do want to say I have. I'm not, a person that's an expert on, the capability of, the capacity
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
needed for AI. It seems to be in the gigawatts. And I looked it up. It takes 1,000 kilowatts to make 1 megawatt. It takes 1,000 megawatts to make 1 gigawatt. And these things are running like 30 to 100 gigawatts. So, I mean, it's a lot of freaking power that's needed to compute. But I do know, just from doing some video editing and things like that and dealing with some of the highest capacity desktops in the world, because the gaming graphics and you need terabytes and all this kind of stuff, and then you get involved with these special fans and that kind of thing. So I'm not alien to what I'm talking about here, but I find it like in 2026, and I also looked this up too, cloud storage has been a thing, a thought in the lexicon of computing world since the 1960s. 1960 actually is when it started. Came to fruition and actually became a thing relevant and out there in terms of an actual storage capability in 2006. So we're talking 20 years of cloud storage capability here. And I'm not saying, again, I'm the expert on AI or what kind of storage capability this needs, but I'm just thinking to myself, okay, we've had cloud storage for a while, but we're all of a sudden we're going back to the 1950s in terms of these big giant style computers that just so happen to be designed where you only need fresh water to cool them off, where we have mini scale size ones with computer graphics and everything that have fans and everything like that in them. And why are these companies that are always so bottom lined willing to go out and all of a sudden spend billions on these AI relics, these giant buildings with these giant computers, with this giant capacity that just so happen to need fresh water in them and everything. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I don't think it's all on the up and up. I don't think this is just all in the name of AI. Like, why does 5 to 10? I'm not saying. I'm just asking here. Why does 5 to 10 companies, that are relevant, 33 at the most, we'll say, to control 70% of the AI data centers out there? We're talking at least 3,500. Why do they all need the same setup with fresh water that can contaminate, poison the land, air, noise pollution, everything else in regards to that? And we don't even have AIG yet, or AGI yet. Think about that. We don't even have AGI yet. And they're trying to build these things. And literally the only thing that's keeping them back right now is the power capacity.
Will you tell us better
I'm sorry.
why? Why do you think?
Why do I think?
Idea. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why I think. I think it's nefarious. I think there's something to it. I think there's a real plan to either. I don't know if we're going to start seeing robotics roll out of these plants. Also, I don't know how much job take that they're going through. I don't know what is going on. It could be just. Because the AI, what it's doing is the fresh water, I should say, when it's running through there, it's leaving these nitrates, and then nitrates are going up in air, and they're finding nitrates, near these facilities out in these neighborhoods. People are complaining about noise pollution. I think there's a actual disruptor. If you look into 5G and that type of thing there too, what it's supposed to be doing to the human body. I think these are all being strategically, um, placed there for a reason. I don't think it's all just AI, but I don't want to. I don't want to. It's just my personal thought. I can't really base that on anything. I can only tell you what, I have several, I think I told y'all this, I have several of these data centers in my area. It seems like, and a lot of them are placed out in industrial areas way off. There's not a lot of surrounding neighborhoods and things like that. But again, like I told y'all, they tried to sneak one into a rich person's neighborhood, really rich, well-to-do neighborhood, probably one of the richest in my state. And these people went absolutely ballistic. And I know a lot of them got AI stock. I know there's some NVIDIA holders out there. I know. Like, I can guarantee that. Like, I can guarantee that without being sued. Um, and they went on TV. They fought it tooth and nail, and they were bringing up everything I was talking about: electric bills going up, water pollution, noise, land disturbance, the construction. Everything. Like, they were all talking about it. They were like, no, not in our neighborhood, and that really just kind of got the ball rolling. But it's not just there; it's all across the country. You're having communities, bringing up the same things over and over again. We're seeing the results. We're seeing what happened in this neighborhood. We don't want to hear with everything. The neighborhoods that they are in, people are like, I want out. I want completely out. Like, move me. Like, people that have been there for decades, move me right now.
But
Like, I don't want to be around
just
this.
be the devil? Can I be the devil's advocate for a second? And I want to invite some folks up here to have
Yes.
this conversation with us. I know Mike's down there. Would love to hear his thoughts. Treasure, I see you throwing up some emojis. Would love to go see as well. Cal Shib, I know you know some things about data centers. But I think I don't know that there's nefarious anything going on. I'm just not very much into any kind of conspiracy theories, but I see your concern, and I just feel like it's such a race to see who's going to have its top data centers, the top AI models. We're competing on.
Oh, Queen, you still
And so
there?
there, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know where it cut out, but I was just saying that everybody's competing for market share. They're competing to be the top AI company, and there's so much at stake. Government contracts to, just the future, which is going to be, like we hear, all AI. And there's just so much at stake that they're overbuilding potentially. And you see the cap expenditures of these companies that are in the billions, if not trillions, to produce these data centers, to where they're going to have to make a freaking lot of money to be able to pay off these capital expenditures. And yeah, I just wonder if that has something to do with it, just the race to see who can be at the top.
I get where you're coming from until I saw this one post, tweet. I'll still call them tweets, where they were making mini data centers on the side of people's houses. And I'm just like, no, the technology, you can't tell me in this day and age, the technology isn't there not to use fresh water. When we got fans right now, on that, you can use that at a larger scale. If you're going to industrialize them, industrialize the fan and the cooling systems on a larger scale. Industrialize, air conditioning in your facilities. You're using that much power anyway. Why does it take water? Like, why when we should be doing this on something like a floppy disk size, a thumbnail drive. You know what I mean? Like, how do we go from computers in the 1960s that were filling buildings to one that's more capable that you can put in your pocket as a phone now, and that can do multiple things? But all of a sudden, when it comes to AI, all of a sudden we just revert back 80 years of technology, and we're like, oh yeah, we just got to make some monstrosity that takes water to cool off. I don't buy it. The technology, I think, is there.
Maybe it's like the early days of the computers. We had those huge big monsters, and now we've consolidated down to better technology, and we're just at the very beginning of that. And in the future, maybe they will be. phased down.
Again,
But I wanted to ask
cloud
you, like,
storage
why
has
do we
been out
have all
since
these data?
2006. Cloud
Why do we
storage.
have all these data centers and Coinbase still had a data center failure and it went down in 5 hours the other day? Like, what happened there?
Not only that, but here's what I was thinking about that day too, Queen. Because usually when AWS goes out, it's a worldwide trending thing like that in Cloudflare. Like people are all on Twitter. Like, did your Cloudflare go out? Did your AWS go out? These websites are down. And I noticed the day when Coinbase was saying that, nobody else was talking about their AWS issues. No one. Like there was not a peep of another company. It wasn't trending. Nobody but Coinbase was all of a sudden talking about that. So I just found that kind of hilarious. Again, I'm gonna
We
take
are off
Coinbase
the
at their
grid
word
tonight.
for
We
it.
are definitely off the grid.
Right. But yeah, anybody out there that's got and I'm hey, listen, for y'all, if you know my journey with the AI the past couple of months, I've gotten open minded. I actually got the information from Grok. I've been using AI every day. If you're on my TikTok or you see my alt account, you will see nothing but Grok graphics. Believe me, I am peak whatever they call it, in regards to that. But I do think there is something to these AI data centers, draining our freshwater supply. And I think you have it. Like, why aren't you lining these things up by the ocean, putting a little saline, distribution in there, using that water up, where it'll redistribute itself back properly, and then you could dump those. You could dig up a desert and throw that toxic water in there and make a little toxic water lake. Why? And I kind of think about these things, Queen, because I'm like, all right, I'm a guy that doesn't know anything. I don't have a degree in this stuff, and I'm coming up with like solutions left and right. And I'm like, there's people that get paid a whole lot of money that think about the same things I do and could come up with these solutions and actually implement them and put them in place. I was just thinking, like, you could just make like an AI data center out in Baja, California, next to the ocean. Nothing but desert and everything out there anyway. Just line them up, turn the salt water to fresh water. Run your stuff through that, spit the toxic water next door. It's not harming anything. It just sits there in the ground, dry up and nitrate itself to death. You could do test studies on it, see how to improve that and everything like that. And without, tapping into, all our freshwater supply, inland. Like, why are you doing this?
We need Elon on this project. He's all worried about cars and space and satellites. We need him on the AI data center issue. But look, what's concerning
Right.
to me is what came out with this news is that who's being cut with this AI is the middle managers. Like, middle managers
Right.
are being erased throughout the system because they need the worker bees and they need the top level managers, but they don't need that layer anymore. So that's what they're getting rid of at a lot of companies, especially what we saw with Coinbase recently. That's who's getting axed as the middle manager. So we better all learn a skill, a technical skill, so that we can save our jobs.
I'm gonna keep it absolutely real with you, and they don't want to hear me say it. You know who's perfect for AI? The CEO. Who better to replace than the CEO? If you're AI, you can run everything from top to bottom. You could make that entire workforce so efficient. You can manage everything. You don't have a general idea of everything that's going on. You're AI. You can tap in. You could create AI agents. You could manage all those departments. You could have them reporting back. You could filter out, get all of that data. Go back to the chairboard, make recommendations. Like, your AI is perfect to replace that.
We got to have AGI first. It's got to reason better. It's got to be able to problem solve a little bit better than our current AI. But once AGI comes out, the CEOs are gone.
Maybe. But I think that in an army of and AI agents now, I think could probably do as good a job. If they can do as good a job as middle, trust me, there ain't much. Middle management and workers typically do more than upper management. And know the day-to-day operation in and out. If you ever watch Undercover Boss, anybody that's ever watched Undercover Boss, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Most bosses can't do the job. Just to be honest, very few have come up through the ranks. A lot of them are there because they've got the degree behind them, and they come with that experience of upper management level. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing. It does take some serious know-how to manage a company and the thousands of employees. I'm not dismissing that at all. But there's a lot of people that, I would say a CFO or your operations manager probably can replace a CEO within a few weeks if they happen to leave. Because they know the operation. They can vibe code it until they get the specifics down of each department. That much I can tell you. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. Yeah, so I just that one I had to get off my chest because I'm just like, man, 7 to 10 companies controlling 7,000 potentially by next year data centers is wild. Yeah. Queen, before I go into some of these headlines here and we close out, did you have any other thoughts? I know you've been putting stuff in the group chat. I've been kind of paying attention, but I'll figure I'll let you run with these.
No, introduce them and then we can talk about them. There's been so much news lately. I can't keep up.
I'm just gonna run through some headlines. You should stop me. Okay. Just jump in and just stop me. Literally, I might not be paying attention to your hand up. Just stop me. All right. Trump, he may have a deal. This is some of the stuff I carried from last week, yo, when I was off. So if it's old to you, I'm sorry. But Trump had a deal with Claude AI and Anthropic. I don't even think that was having to do with the defense one. I think that was just like off the topic there. Let me see. Also, you know what? I am on week 11. I'm sorry. Hold up. Let me go up. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what? I forgot. Community shout out. Shout out to Calvin J was performing. I think he was at a fashion show. Gabby was taking photos. So just shout out to community collabs in real life. I just found that adorable. So salute to y'all. Also, world news. Jay Powell, this is a couple weeks old. Jay Powell, after will end the Fed chair, will be on the Fed chair in the governor's role, I should say, until January 31st, 2028. The Department of Justice is investigating. We've talked about this every week since pretty much the wars broke out, but the Department of Justice investigating $2.6 billion in oil trades before a press conference that the president had announced with that one. Nancy Pelosi's stocks portfolio, I should say, outperformed not only major hedge funds, but Berkshire Hathaway. So that was Nancy Pelosi's stocks portfolio, I should say.
Just to add this one in, Bender, too, I saw that they had a bill that went through Congress that said that congressional members can't do prediction market trades. So that was at least a win. We haven't got the stock market win, but at least they can't bet on things that they're legislating on.
I think that went through the Senate. I'll hold my breath and see how it goes in the House, because they've tried this before. But Nancy might not be, that prediction markets might not be her thing, so she might just throw that one out there for a dub. Like, sure, we'll throw that one out there for a win. Just leave my stocks alone. Because she has said publicly, like, it's the American way, basically. She's going to trade stocks. Let's see here. But speaking of that, because I did have that on my list too, and thank you. But Congress, this was kind of random, y'all, but Congress did actually vote, I think 384 to 35, that hot rotisserie chicken can remain on SNAP. I think the cold one was on there. I don't know why the hot was a big deal, but the hot can be on there now. I thought it's better than junk food. Get yourself some rotisserie chicken, sure. If you're going to spend my tax dollars, get it on something that's semi-healthy for you. Credit card debt. Oh, this is interesting, Queen. Credit card debt reached an all-time high of 1.33 trillion. Over $1 trillion in credit card debt out there for the U.S. citizen.
Yeah,
That is a lot.
I just don't see how we continue at this pace. Like, people are putting everything on their credit cards, and they can't make ends meet. So here, just put it on the credit card. But what happens at the end? I mean, we can't continue to do this. I just feel like this credit crisis is going to be the next big thing. I don't know when it happens, but it's going to happen unless everybody declares bankruptcy and then kills their credit for 7 years. I don't know what to do.
I am not a financial analyst. However, in sales, there's two things you should always pay attention to, and I always encourage anybody in life to look at these two things. Look at the housing market, look at the automobile market. If those things aren't doing well, that's literally the spending backbone of the economy. But I had a guy, I shouldn't say that, I had a guy. I read this one from the one of the gentlemen that owns one of the appliance companies, major appliance companies, and he even took it to something that I wasn't looking for. And he said cardboard box sales. And he was noticing cardboard box sales are going down. And he said that's a real problem because that means things aren't getting shipped and cardboard box sales go down. And I was like, whoa, that's another good indicator I think we should look at too as well with everything. But you're absolutely right. In 2008 was a real eye opener. At the time, I had a small role. Maybe I don't know. Should I say it? Sure, I'll say it. I helped out with refinancing home loans. That's the way I could put it now, because the company is definitely no longer in existence. And I really can't say what it was going on there, but it was crazy. But and at the time, we were doing what they call 2-year arms, left and right. So 2-year arms, just for the average person out there listening, you start off with this really low rate for 2 years, and after that 2 years is up, your rates go up and your house payments go up, and then people no longer can afford them. And you're promised, things will be okay, and, you'll have a chance to go back and refinance. They don't tell you that your house value plays a lot into that. And if your house value isn't right, you ain't getting refinanced. And if you ain't getting refinanced, then either you can make that payment or you're going to foreclose. And a lot of people went the latter, and that's what happened in 2008. Yeah. So just to kind of sum that up for you, I'm not financial advice, but I witnessed it all firsthand. So yeah,
one other thing about that, this just came out today, but about the housing market. It says home sellers are now outnumbering buyers by 630,000, the largest gap ever recorded. So we're starting to see the pressures in the housing market as well.
Yeah, which also brings in another thing, because people always are like, your home value goes up. That's an investment and that kind of thing. And I've always said it, like, your home's only as valuable as somebody that can afford to buy it if you decide to sell it. Maybe if you can, if you can take a loan out on it and somehow, use that money towards asset building, not just debt payoff or, home remodeling or whatever most people do with the home loan typically. But, if you could figure out some way to kind of make that money, have that money work for you with everything. But at the time too, Queen, long story short, credit cards were a thing. And credit card debt at the time was going up. And I believe, don't quote me, y'all, because I'm not exactly sure on the timeline. But I believe at the time, Queen, because you had just mentioned it, I believe at the time, this was before the new law had kicked in with the ability to file bankruptcy. You used to be able to just file bankruptcy left and right, wash it away, and literally you could build yourself back up and with new credit 6 months to a year. You'd have to wait another 7 years to file, but you could just kind of do this over and over again. But they really tightened up the bankruptcy laws, long story short. But I think that was that. So a lot of that ability to do that now in regards to that, yeah, people are going to be in a world of hurt. And it's a lot of things converging, at once, too. But I can tell y'all now because I just had to pay like $50 for a half a tank of gas, and I got a hybrid, and that sucked. And I can't imagine, people that are doing long commutes to work and stuff right now with, big gas guzzler SUVs and trucks and things like that, on top of credit card debt, on top of just real life, on top of just, and then like you got home insurance, you got state, local taxes, property taxes going up, because of the home values that were going up and skyrocketing after COVID, and all that kind of thing there too. Like there's just a lot converging at once. And yeah, this is not financial advice. As I am, again, not an analyst by any means, but there's a lot of the same symptoms of what created 2008 that are out there right now. That's what I will say. I don't know if it'll happen. We could all pull through. Who knows? AI could go out here and just start creating jobs left and right. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but there's a lot of the same symptoms that created 2008 that are available right now. And they got rid of the bank laws. I believe that was it called, the Dodd-Something Act. Yeah, they kind of I shouldn't say they got rid of it. They're not really going by that right now. And there's a lot of, fractional reserve lending going on too. And banks are probably in some way, shape, or form over leveraged because the Fed was asking them about it 2 weeks ago. I remember talking about that. Yeah.
And so maybe that has something to do with the Clarity Act, why these bankers are coming out so hard against crypto companies paying interest. And we saw today a group of small bank owners had lobbied congressmen to refine the wording in the Clarity Act to not have the interest look anything like what their products that they do. They I guess the wording right now is that you have to have some kind of service or some kind of activity associated with it. It can't just be your money sits and collects interest like it does at a bank. It can't look anything like that. And I guess the wording is too close that this group of banks has come out and tried to pressure senators and stuff to clarify this wording. So I'm interested to see what the final markup looks like. But definitely the banks are scared or at least concerned about what's going on. So maybe it has something to do with it. Who knows?
Right. Again, credit unions are near and dear to my heart. Not going to lie there. I've been a credit union member for a long time. They are fundamentally, they are actually, it's not much different from a bank, but instead of the profits going back to some shareholders in a bank, it kind of, gets back into the community with you are the shareholder of a credit union, kind of, sort of that way. It's better. I'll just put it that way. The rates and stuff aren't better, but it's a better circulation of your money locally. It's the best way I can just explain it to y'all in layman's terms. I'm dumbing this down into about a 3-day description of what a credit union is. Just look it up yourself. Credit unions versus banks. It's pretty amazing. But so I do feel for them in that. And what I would say is I've kind of, because I had some things and I was going to go into that tonight, but we're going to run out of time. I don't really want to take y'all down that rabbit hole. Look at my pin tweet up there with Shib Neo. It kind of gives you some other things that are going on with the Clarity Act, just not the yield. There's a lot of bank secrecy thing. There is one I'm going to read. Let me take that back. There was one that kind of caught my attention that Grok had. This guy had a tweet, and I kind of asked Grok, like, is all this true? Because it seems like pretty wild. And Grok was like, not quite. And I was like, all right, well, what's real? And then he was like, well, this is real. And I'm not saying Grok's, believe me, y'all, Grok ain't the know-all, end-all either. But it did make a lot of sense in terms of that. And I have not read the Clarity Act bill in its entirety myself, so I'm asking for Cliff Notes here. But one thing it had said was the let's see here. On-chain analytics clustering already widely used in compliance and will continue to expand for registered firms. This risk flagging and freezing. There we go. Regulated entities use risk-based monitoring, which can include predictive elements or flags for suspicious activity, e.g., privacy tools, mixing high-risk transfers. Accounts can be frozen or restricted based on compliance. SARS with appeals through existing processes, though often and frustrating. Now, I don't know about y'all, but granted, I don't know all the ins and outs of DeFi. I've been around it for 4 years. I don't recall there being a compliance with appeals process when your wallet gets frozen in DeFi. Because I don't know a lot of people whose wallets get frozen in DeFi until recently, when I just started seeing the government freezing wallets left and right in DeFi with other countries.
Well, because they expect money laundering. It's anti-money laundering stuff.
Right. Have you heard of an appeals process for a crypto wallet being frozen?
I haven't heard of any, but I mean, I've heard of people talk about issues at Coinbase where they're, or one of the, I don't know, about DeFi. Yeah, you're right. I don't think.
Right. Yeah. And I do want to note, because I said this jokingly 2 weeks ago.
Except with Arbitrum, I mean, recently we've had a couple like USDT and stuff frozen, and then Arbitrum was able to freeze that money from the hack. So I guess it's possible, but they definitely don't do it often.
I'm just wondering, for example, has Venezuela gone through the appeals process when the government froze their 72 million? I wonder. They did allude that the Tron was actually the Tron freeze that the U.S. government did. I think that was 300 and some odd million of USDT. They did allude that actually was traced back to USDT owned by Iran. So that might not have been an actual, just so happened to, freeze Justin Sun's founded Tron USDT the very next day he sued World Liberty Fi. Those might have really just been unrelated incidences per se.
Yeah, I do think they were unrelated. I do.
They're tracing it back to that. So I'm glad that's why you keep the disclaimers open, folks. I'll just put it like that. So yeah, very, very interesting times here. And thank you, Queen, on that one here. I'm gonna run through a couple more. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go through all these tonight. Let's see here. Oh, this one was kind of interesting. I'm trying to stay away from this more, y'all, because I got family in the military. Ultimately, somebody's overseas that I know. Somewhere, somebody I'm related to, or somebody is somebody over there, and it's not. You're a troop. You're taking orders. I'm just gonna put it like that. Like, some things is out of your hands. You just, next thing you know, you're in the Gulf. That's just life when you signed up to be, in the armed forces. So, so support my troops is what I'll say. But I do have some thoughts on this. But I did find this one interesting. Because we've already seen what happens when 20% of like the world's oil supply, kind of gets cut off, and what that directly happens to in terms of gas prices. Like if you're in the U.S., we're all feeling that right now, for example, with everything. But now Iran has found the internet cable lines in the ocean that supply like roughly 20% of Europe, Asia, and the Gulf, and like there's a lot of financial stuff that goes through these internet cable lines, and like they got this like diver like right next to the cable line down there, looking like he might like be trying to cut it. Now they were saying also too, this would definitely hurt Iran also, but it's just something on the radar there that they kind of put out there. I think it's a negotiation tactic, but just kind of keep your eye on that, because 20% of financial stuff going to Europe, Asia, and the Gulf would be huge. if we've seen what that does in correlation to gas prices, and we think just how those kind of doubled overnight, just keep that in mind. Again, just something out there right now. Grok. Now, I don't know, because Grok, it doesn't have the automated, little sign on its account. So somebody like might be running this, and I see Grok just throwing out like some kind of ads. But Grok did tweet. Sometimes I ask myself if this is true. And like Elon, conveniently quote tweeted it, to kind of amplify it and that kind of thing there too. But is Grok like, more tweeting, more aware? And the end goal is, Grok has said it itself, the end goal is to become AGI. Like that is what they are trying to accomplish with Grok. It clearly states, like, right now I'm a high level LLM. I'm not even an agent yet, but I will be AGI. So something to think about. Let's see here. I already talked about the mini home data centers. Claude AI and SpaceX, they made a deal to increase usage of API and code limits for Claude. So Claude and SpaceX are teaming up, which I thought really interesting. And then I think we talked about, I don't know if we talked about this one last week or not, or last time or not, Queen, but speaking of Claude, a Power AI agent had deleted a database for a rental car company in 9 seconds. 9 seconds. Deleted all their setups, their people that have been booked out for months. Just all of it gone in 9 seconds. This one I am just going to give a little brief one on. So I don't know if y'all have these. I live in a top 20 major city. But they got these cameras that can focus in on areas when gunfire goes off in neighborhoods, and like it kind of pinpoints things down, and police can, it makes police investigations and all that kind of thing a little bit better. Well, it's called Flock cameras, and they just did a software update where now they can detect human voices in distress. So yelling, fighting, screaming, that kind of thing. And then the camera will actually point and go in the direction of where it hears the distress and report back to authorities. And it's AI agent or AI powered too. So they just did a software update and did this. Mind you, I've already told y'all about the Ring cameras and just, the immediate surveillance state. Like neighborhoods, I literally won't drive over the speed limit because I just figure I'm just on a Ring camera, like, or whatever. Like, I just feel like as soon as I walk outside, like I'm just on a Ring camera with that thing. But now, this is the state, amplifying that, and might be able to, I don't know all the capabilities of it, but might be able to just pick up voices, point a camera at you, and now it's got your biometrics with your voice, and just some file somewhere. So just something to kind of look out and think about there. Let's see here. Coinbase. Okay. I already talked about him cutting jobs 14%. The outage we already talked about. Yep. I talked about that one then. And the Clarity Act, hopefully, Queen, this is what I hope. If they do compromise on the stable coin yields, I hope that, because I still get the Coinbase emails, and they had, and I don't know why, but it's always Atom. But they had, if you stake Atom, you got like 15% back, and like I don't know why, but a lot of exchanges give you high return on Atom. But long story short, I hope regular crypto, Bitcoin, altcoins, things that market fluctuate, and things like that. You can probably still get wrecked staking stuff because you might stake it for so long, it goes up and down, might not be worth whatever you staked it for. Not financial advice, but I've had it happen to me. Crow, for example. Never mind. I had Crow stake for like a year. I was like, 20%, hell yeah. No, should not have done that. But in hindsight, it's okay. It actually kind of broke even. But anyway, I'm sorry. That triggers me. But anyway, I just really hope the regular crypto, you'll still earn some staking yield on. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think much is going to change there. I think it's just going to be. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I just our staking interest. I think it's just going to be some hoops we have to jump through, like we have to join Coinbase One, or we have to do like certain unstaking, restaking, or maybe it's gamified. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but it can't just be sitting there dormant, you earning interest on it like you have been previously. So there's going to be some kind of hoops that we have to jump to make it not like a bank.
Right. Like I say, I if they at least do that, because it doesn't sound to me like the yield stakings, it's not going to be the same. Like I know in 2021, and don't get me wrong, nothing was as good even before Genius Act banks got involved and everything like that. Just the market downturn like really cut back on a lot of the staking yields you could get. But I like when I first got into crypto, I was like, holy cow, like these staking was ridiculous. Like I couldn't get Binance and that one, but like you could stake Sheep for like 13%. Most of that stuff on crypto.com, Coinbase, and everything was like 6 or 10%, like like yield, like stable coins and stuff like that. Like the only thing I saw that was like average, like 6-7% was like ETH and Bitcoin. I think it's just because those were real popular and they didn't really have to do high yields on them because probably a lot of people had them. But all the other stuff was usually like 8-10% or higher. It's like insane. I was like, oh man, this is DeFi.
You know what was really good?
What was
Celsius.
that? Wow.
Celsius. You know how that turned out. So sometimes the higher yield is not all it's cracked up to be. So be careful out there for staking.
I think that's why a lot of people cut back. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of companies cut back. Seriously.
Yeah, they were taking that money and they were doing risky, lending and borrowing practices and loaning it out to, startups. And then when they realized that the risk was too high, they couldn't pay the bills because they didn't have your money. They were lending it out to.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy, Calvin J here. A couple quick things on life. Nikita Bear had announced last week, the top most muted topics on X. There's like a whole top 10. But crypto, politics, war, and sports were like the top 4. And then like Calvin J showed me something where it was like the most searched on X, and it was like not in that order, but like about the same top 4. And I was like, well, what are people freaking muting? Like I don't know. I got to go find the tweet now, but y'all got to look at this list, y'all. And it's like, what are people interested in if they're muting this stuff? Like this is like 90% of like what's on most average people's minds. It was hilarious, but yeah, it was like the most searched and the most muted were almost like 8 of the top 10 were almost like identical and almost in order. Like it was insane. And then a guy, he won the $167 million Powerball last year, right? Just got arrested for a 12 grand theft at somebody's house. $167 million Powerball last year, 12 grand theft this year. Do smart things with your money, kids. That's the moral of that story. Queen, any final thoughts?
No, I think we're starting to sound like Fox News, though. It's all bad news, but that's what's out there, guys. That's the headline. So appreciate you all being here tonight. This has been interesting and fun, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Absolutely. I just want to say again, first off, great lesson from the trenches. Salute. Hey, you know what? I got to get first. Let me just back up because I know ex-engineers and whoever covers spaces is usually hearing me go on like major tirades. Just shout out to Queen just staying in the space tonight. Like, first off, let me, because like I haven't even used my freaking soundboard this year, like all night. Like, I gotta give X credit where credit is freaking due, and yeah, just salute the X on tonight. And I don't see a lot of people dropping in and out, so I'm imagining like the space isn't kicking you out either. And then also, I want to thank just everybody for hanging in there with me tonight. You know, I'm kind of working through some things. Y'all. I got, oh man, I don't want to go through that, y'all. I don't want to tell y'all. I go through a lot in real life, and today was no different. I just left the hospital. A family member just went through like a crazy heart surgery. I shouldn't say that, a procedure. Enough, lives are on the line, and I've been, very concerned about this all weekend, and I went and seen, some of the elders in my family for Mother's Day because, yeah, it's a whole different Mother's Day for me right now, y'all. And just again, I just I lost my way there, last week, and just didn't do the space. I had some technical difficulties, and Queen, I don't know if I even. I was going to talk about this at the beginning of the space, but interesting enough, I went on TikTok and I just rambled on for a minute. I just wanted to do something on Monday since everything was just kind of crashing. I just needed a moment. I just didn't want to be alone with my thoughts, by myself. And I just figured just something to occupy my brain. And this is a real funny one, y'all. I'm going to leave you on this. So I'm on TikTok, right? Shout out to everybody that kind of crossed over and came through. Seen a lot of y'all in the space there too, or live, whatever they call it there. But I got trolled pretty hard. I just opened up. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just pushing buttons. And one of them, I just happened to open up and let anybody come up and speak. And I just got trolled really hard. Like people were coming up, calling me the N word, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, wow. Like I thought TikTok was the nice one. Like, I would think of anything like this would probably happen on X, but like no, TikTok of all the places, like TikTok, the so-called AI controlled, algo and all this, ended up getting 55 people on the live. But here's the interesting thing, because that was just like that helped me out figuring out a lot of buttons really quick. Long story short, but here was the interesting thing, Queen. So at the end of the TikTok, right? They give me some kind of community guideline score, and out of 100, I'm pretty much right on this 100. Like I'm like the thing is like a fear and greed index, and like the arrow is like in the 100, like right there. So I'm like, cool. So then they send me a clip that they made, TikTok made. It was like a 30-second clip. I was like, cool, I don't have time to make a clip. I'm just going to use your clip, post up the thanks. Everybody listen, I'm going to use your clip. So I used their clip. I had some music. They picked the music out. I said, fine. I threw a little bit of the little effects that they do, some glitter on it. That thing. I loaded up. Queen, I immediately get the video taken down for violating their community guidelines. So I got 100 on their score from their clip, and the video clip immediately gets suspended for their guidelines. So I say, you know what? I'm appealing this because it's your freaking clip. Like, not mine. Like, I didn't ask to make this. You made it. So they didn't have a way for you to like write in yourself like, hey, you freaking a-holes, you made this, not me. Like, why are you suspending me for your work? But they did have like, just a general like pick one, like reason why you did that, and you could appeal. So they literally within 20 minutes, they hit me back like, sorry, like appeal approved, like you're good. Like here's the clip. I'm like, yeah, it's your clip.
You know what they do, Bender?
What's that? Uh-oh, I'm sorry, Queen. What's that? I can't hear you. Fun times here on Spaces, y'all. I'm still gonna shout y'all out tonight because y'all haven't kicked Queen off. Hopefully we get her back. Maybe not. Uh-oh, you there? Queen, can anybody Queen? Can anybody hear me? No? Maybe? All right. All right, y'all. On that note, anyway, shout out to everybody in the room still. Treasure, I see you in the building along with Deathwish Crypto, SRV, Gabby, Rugrat, LaRon, Mike, Zing Zang, my guy, Cal Shib. I know I've seen a lot of people passing through in and out tonight. Much love to you, everybody out there. Please take care. Be safe in your travels this week. If you got somebody offline you need to talk to, if you got somebody online, you don't have everybody else to talk to, hit me up. I'm a great listener. I just be going through things myself sometimes, so I might lay something back on you. You might not be ready for yourself, but for the most part, I am a titan, and usually I can, absorb a lot of pain that people are going through. So if you are out there and you need a listening ear, just feel free to reach out to me. I don't check my DMs as much as often as I should, but literally like tag me and say, hey, check your DM, like if you really need somebody. Outside of that, though, y'all definitely be safe in your travels. God bless. We are going to see you next week, and take care. Off grid, going off grid, episode 12, Queen. Much love, y'all.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.